Why would Snow White make a good judge? Because she is the fairest of them all. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Kelsey.
Heigh-ho.
This week, it's off to work we go with 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So what do you think the story was?
A princess runs away from Wada and invades somebody else's house while looking for love.
I think that's the last way anyone ever would have explained the story of Snow White. But you've probably heard this story told several different times, so I doubt it's going to take us very long to go through it. Starts off telling you about Snow White and the way her life is. She is living with her stepmother, who is jealous of her beauty, so she forces her to wear rags and
Rags look pretty nice to me.
I mean, yeah, so the rags aren't nice dresses. There was no rotoscoping done for the depiction of the queen, because the animators preferred drawing the queen over Snow White, and they'd have devoted more attention to her depiction.
Yeah, so pretty much in the beginning, the queen has a magic mirror that she asks, who's the fairest of them all? Every single day, the mirror says Snow White is finally basically old enough and pure enough to be the fairest of them all.
At the age of 14.
Yeah.
Way to go, Walt Disney.
Yeah, nice. Because she is outside singing and cleaning by a well, and she's just saying that she's looking for the one that she loves, and she's singing into a well with all these other birds. And a prince not only rides upon his horse, but does not go through a gate. Nope. He scales a wall and then proceeds to go up next to her and sing and startles her so much, and he is acting in full-blown shock.
It's like a horror movie.
Yes, it really is.
Is this the inspiration for the movie or the TV show You
that think? Or maybe Michael Myers.
Literally, what are you doing? Like, you just show up behind her and start singing?
Yeah.
He sneaks up behind her. He just pops his head into the reflection of the well and gets in on her song.
Yeah, and then is absolutely shocked that she's not afraid.
It reminded me of Elf when the girl is singing in the shower and he sneaks into the shower and is singing with her.
Yeah.
And then she looks out and he's just sitting on the counter.
Yeah, absolutely.
The prince was originally a much more prominent character, but the difficulty found in animating him convinced the animators to just reduce his part significantly. Which is crazy because quite literally he has 2 scenes in the whole movie. This is the first one.
They're in love after this first sighting and singing to each other.
So because now Snow White is the fairest of them all, the queen orders a huntsman to kill her and deliver her heart as proof of the kill. When the huntsman goes to kill her, he can't do it. He feels guilty and he tells her to run away. And she goes running into the woods and she's having a fucking panic attack. She's running through the woods. Every tree looks like a monster to her. And girl, just calm down.
And let me tell you, she runs so far in a circle that she runs into the same baby bird as previously. I'm convinced she wasn't that deep into the forest.
Well, I just think, I know that the guy acted oh, you have to run now. But really, there's no reason to run. Just walk. You know?
Yeah.
He's the one that was supposed to kill you and he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah. And he's begging for mercy, basically. But she runs until she finds all these animals surround her when she's scared, and they take her to the dwarves' home.
Yeah, and so she finds, the dwarves' home. It's a fucking wreck. It's disgusting in there, so she cleans it under the assumption that she says, perhaps if I clean this, they'll let me stay. So imagine somebody breaking into your house, insulting you, honestly, by cleaning it and being like, this place was so dirty. And then being like, well, since I cleaned this piece of shit for you, how about I stay?
Yeah, well, what's even worse about that is she doesn't even really clean it herself. She puts all the animals to work and makes them do all of it. And while she sings, and let me just hot take this right now, not a good singer.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know about all that, but...
No,
I liked that the animals were wiping the dishes with their asses.
I did like that. That was funny.
She does call them out, and she says, hey, put them in the sink. But still. So the 7 dwarves are shown working in a mine nearby, and the dwarves, if you've never heard their names, Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey.
Which one am I?
Sleepy.
Oh, you're Grumpy.
That's true. Drawing the dwarves march home in the Heigh-ho scene was one of the toughest assignments. Although 6 of the dwarfs were marching at the same tempo, they had to each have their own body language suited to the character. And Dopey, bringing up the rear, was hopping out of step with the others, but still had to be smoothly integrated into the action. Describing the sheer amount of painstaking hand-drawn labor this involved, animator Seamus Cullen said, "I worked 6 months on that goddamn thing and it doesn't have more than a minute of screen time."
Let me tell you, this movie was long.
It was a lot longer than I expected from an older movie. Talking about this guy's animation, I will say that I do like the smooth looking animation of it. It looks old, but it does look good for being this hand-drawn thing.
In the 30s.
I mean, plenty of people complain they wish Disney still did a lot of more hand-drawn movies. I mean, the most recent hand-drawn, princess movie I can think of is The Princess and the Frog, and, that looked really good. But they don't really do that anymore. The dwarves let Snow White stay. She's just going to be their housekeeper. She's feeding them, showing them that it's okay to clean your hands before you eat, that kind of thing. And when the queen finds out that Snow White's alive...
Let me tell you, that mirror is a snitch.
Yeah.
Saying that he knows where Snow... He just gives her right up.
Yeah, no need to do that,
He's a snitch.
Who's the fairest of them all? And he's like, oh yeah, Snow White. She's actually still alive and she's in the forest.
And she's in the cottage with these specific dwarves. Gave the location right up.
It made me think of Shrek when he's talking to the magic mirror and he doesn't like the answer and he's like, Felonious. And he picks up that hand mirror and punches it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do to the mirror. Just, hey, quiet down.
Exactly. What a snitch.
So she decides she's going to try and kill Snow White. And instead of just walking out to this place she already knows where she is with a knife... She's like, what if I poison her with an apple?
And not only, it doesn't kill her, it just makes her go into a deep sleep until she's kissed by her one true love. But ha 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 ha, Snow White can't be in love.
Yeah, well, she also says, if she's passed out from this apple, they're going to bury her alive. So, she also, to deliver this apple, she disguises herself as an old hag. And at the recording session... Lucille Laverne, who did the voice of the evil queen, was told that they needed an older, raspier version of the queen's voice for the old hag. And Laverne then gave a perfect old hag's voice, and it stunned the animators, and they asked her how she did it, and she said, I just took out my teeth.
Gross.
I mean... they didn't even know. She just popped them out into her hand, and boom, there you have the hag's voice.
That's funny.
So she does deliver this apple to Snow White and convinces her to take a bite of it because it's just such a good-looking apple. And, very much a don't take candy from strangers thing.
Yeah, during all of this, the animals realize who it is and are racing to get the dwarves who realize something's wrong and are racing back, but they don't make it to her in time.
Yeah, by the time they get there, she's already passed out from the apple, and they chase the queen off of a cliff. I mean, she gets to the edge of a cliff, and then, lightning strikes, and it knocks her down.
And then these big old vultures swoop on down to scoop her up, take her eyes out.
Yeah, and, so the screenwriters, they struggled with how to depict the evil queen's death, because... Initially, they rejected the death scene outright because the original story had the queen killed by torture, and they felt that would ruin Snow White's image as a good girl.
It would.
Yeah, it would have been a bit brutal.
It especially for a kid's movie, which, I don't know.
I mean, it is just a retelling of a story that's still considered, I guess, a kid's story, but it's a lot darker.
And then the dwarves basically just put Snow White in a golden glass coffin
Yeah,
that
they said she was so beautiful they didn't want to bury her, which, weird.
They have this shrine almost to her. And then all of a sudden the prince somehow finds out that Snow White is alive. Or Snow White, I don't know if they just don't
hears
think she's
about
alive.
What happens to her.
And he goes to visit her, and it looks as if at least a season has passed.
Yeah.
Because it was winter into spring, so it's been months. First off, it didn't show her have any muscular wasting. She just hopped right up. And he just kissed her and was like, bye-bye. And then what do you know? She still remembered him from the one creepy interaction. And they were in love, and he whisked her away.
Yeah, now this dude just showed up and kissed you while you were asleep. The prince
Awful
don't sit
ending.
right with me, for sure.
Awful.
But that's the end of the movie. Like I said, you've heard this before, so it's probably not too surprising. The budget for this movie was $1.5 million, which was astronomical for this year.
Can you imagine how much money that would be today?
Yeah.
Because this was almost 100 years ago. It was 90 years ago.
And the box office was $418 million. This was an absolute hit. Like, people, and I will say this.
My jaw's literally on the floor.
It's referred to by many critics as one of the greatest animated films in history. Rolling Stone called it the one that changed the future of animation, which it truly did. This was the first for a lot of things. Nobody thought this was going to work. Everybody called this like Walt Disney's folly. It was supposed to be this big failure. It was nobody wanted to lend them money for it. Nothing. And once they did this, like, it changed people's perception of what a movie could be. People were impressed with the animation. They had never seen anything like this. Nobody knew animated movies could work like this, and this opened the door for literally everything. This is the start of Disney. You would not have Disney today without this movie. This movie went through a lot of changes as well. With that being said, with all these things I'm saying, I understand this movie to be a technological, like, inspiration for the future. I don't really like it. I mean, I gave it a 3 out of 5, but I don't know if it's because I've heard the story so many times, but it was just boring to me. Like, it's mind-numbing to sit through.
The fact that you gave it a 3 is wild.
Well, because I see where a lot of things, like, I'm like, oh, wow, it's interesting that this became this, and, you know, it's important to cinema, but...
I understand it's important to cinema, but if we're looking at the movie itself, awful movie. I gave it a 1 out of 5. I can appreciate what it did to inspire the future, but... that doesn't make the movie any better.
I would never watch it again. I can say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so like I've said, you know, this is based on the original, like, Grimm's fable. So I have true or false here. I'm going to just tell you it.
From the fable or from...
From the fable. You tell me whether or not you think it's true.
Okay.
The queen asked the huntsman to bring Snow White's lungs and liver as proof so that she can eat them.
True.
That is true.
Yeah. Ooh.
Disgusting.
That is gross. She just strikes me as that type of bitch.
The queen attempts to kill Snow White with a poison comb.
No.
She does. She tries a piece of clothing that wraps so tight around Snow White that she passes out, and the dwarves revive her. She gives her a poison comb that knocks her out, and the dwarves revive her.
So in this one, she gets revived multiple times. She's just that stupid.
She just keeps being like, well, this stranger handed me this thing.
Different stranger each time or same stranger?
It's just her.
That's even worse.
The dwarves eat the queen.
Mm-hmm. After she dies?
Sure.
Yes.
No.
Oh.
Snow White is revived when a piece of the poison apple is dislodged from her throat.
No.
Yeah, she doesn't actually eat it. It just gets stuck in her throat, and the prince shows up and takes her coffin and is carrying it back to her castle to be buried in a proper resting place, and the knocking around knocks the piece of apple out of her throat, and she comes back to life.
This is awful. Just all awful.
Snow White's father is also father to the 7 dwarfs.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm going to say no.
It's not. You're right. Okay. So in the early 2000s, a prequel titled The 7 Dwarfs was pitched. The story explained how the dwarves met, how the evil queen killed Snow White's father, and how Dopey lost his voice upon witnessing the death of his mother. After Disney purchased Pixar in 2006, John Lasseter canceled The 7 Dwarfs. Obviously, the live-action movie is out this week. What's your sequel?
My sequel's called Snow White, A Journey Far, Far Away.
Is this a Shrek crossover?
I don't know.
Okay.
Many years have passed since Snow White married the prince, and she has maintained her close relationship with the dwarves. She and the prince are wanting to start a family. While in the castle one night, Snow White is warned by the magic mirror that there are evil forces moving to eliminate both her and the prince. When they find out about this, they decide a fresh start is what's best and escape with the dwarves so nobody will ever find them again. The rest of the movie will be a journey to a new place that they've heard about, housing princes and princesses called Far, Far Away. Along the journey, which they cross blistering winds and scorching deserts.
Jesus.
What?
Nothing.
Snow White will also learn how to think for herself and defend herself rather than being a damsel in distress all of the time. She not only has to save the prince, but countless times they will have to help other people along the way. Upon arriving in Far, Far Away, the dwarves sell some of their mined diamonds in order to buy Snow White and the prince and themselves a house. The prince starts working for the fairy godmother and becomes close friends with Prince Charming, while Snow White remains at home and makes friends with the other princesses. They live happily ever after, or so they think.
Talk about it, talk about it,
talk about moving. Anyway, it is an intro into the Shrek universe. Funky Town, won't you take me to Funky Town? Anyway.
Not bad.
It's the intro into the
Yeah.
Shrek universe, not quite a crossover.
Okay.
But I wanted to make it to where Snow White is able to think for herself.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it as a true or false, but in the original Grimm fairy tale, she's 7 when all this happens.
Oh, that's even worse.
At the age of 7, the queen is like, kill her.
Yeah, and that's why I said many years have passed, because I'm hoping the prince was like 16.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to say I'm sure he was.
Yeah, but we can't say that. So in my mind, he was 2 years older, and now many years have passed.
I mean, much like today, back then people died of like measles and stuff, so they probably didn't make it very long.
That's what I'm saying. The average age they probably are living to is maybe 45.
Mine is called Snow White and the Magic Mirror. Snow White and the prince live happily ever after in the castle until the prince begins hearing whispers from the castle basement. Upon investigating, the prince finds the magic mirror covered with cloth. He uncovers it and is horrified to see the queen within the mirror. She stares into the prince's eyes and shouts a spell.
Ooh.
Her soul leaves the mirror, entering the prince's body, and in return the prince's soul is now trapped in the mirror. Now in the body of the prince, the evil queen begins her revenge by ordering the royal guard to imprison Snow White and hunt down the 7 dwarves. Snow White writes a letter to the dwarves from prison and calls on her animal friends to deliver the letter. The dwarves receive the letter and ambush the royal guard. Using the guards' outfits, the dwarves stack themselves into the armor and sneak into the castle to free Snow White. I thought that'd be funny.
That is funny.
Like kids in a coat.
Where's Dopey at? Is he on the top or the bottom?
Absolutely the top.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
It'll be comedic.
Yeah.
Upon reaching the jail cell and freeing Snow White, the queen learns of the royal guard's failure and goes into a rage. The queen begins chanting an evil spell that transforms herself into a giant, monstrous shadow vulture.
Ooh, which is what ate her before.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going for the like Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent turns into a big dragon. I wanted to do dragon, but that's already...
Well, they kind of did that in the movie Enchanted. Remember, it's a it's almost like Sleeping Beauty versus Snow White.
Yeah.
And okay.
The dwarves do their best to defend Snow White, but are no match for the queen's evil form. Snow White notices that the dwarves' reflective armor seemed to bother the queen, almost like she didn't want to see herself. Snow White grabs the magic mirror, and just as the queen is about to attack, she lifts the mirror, and the queen sees herself and is horrified by how ugly she has become. The queen retreats back into the mirror so that she may return to her former appearance, and this returns the prince's soul back to his body. Snow White immediately smashes the magic mirror, forever banishing the queen.
Nice. It's like a Huntsman meets Enchanted meets original movie.
I figured that she was always obsessed with her look, and so that would be the way to defeat her. But
yeah.
I would say this is definitely a direct-to-video sequel.
I think mine could be like a Disney Channel original.
I don't think mine's making it to Disney Channel.
Disney Plus, then. Disney Plus debut.
Thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod?
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or let us know your idea across our socials, or at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you are listening. If I could ask you for one thing, it's to share a show with someone and leave us a review. That is how we get new listeners. Of course, I also ask that you come back for more Needless Sequels. Next week, we are watching Ghost of Girlfriends Past on Max. And today I want to close with a line from Snow White's song With a Smile and a Song. Remember, you're the one who can fill the world with sunshine. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye!